Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here today to talk about something we all face in life, the battle between desire and action. We all have dreams, we all have goals, but far too often we let the weight of procrastination hold us back. And the truth is, no matter how badly we want something, if we don't force ourselves to get it done, it will never become a reality. You see, we're not going to always feel like it. Life doesn't care about your feelings. It doesn't care if you're tired, if you're discouraged, or if you're facing obstacles. The reality is that the world rewards those who act regardless of how they feel. You've got to push through. You've got to force yourself. So often we hear people talk about waiting for the right moment to take action. They say, I'll get started once I'm inspired, or I need to feel motivated before I can do anything. But here's the harsh truth. Waiting for inspiration to strike is a trap. Motivation doesn't show up when you're sitting back hoping for it to come. It doesn't knock on your door or arrive with a burst of energy. It's a myth that motivation precedes action. In fact, it's the opposite. You've got to take action first and motivation follows. When we wait for inspiration, we place the power of our success in something external. We're telling ourselves that our ability to succeed depends on some elusive outside force. But here's what successful people understand. You create motivation through action. The more you act, the more inspired you become. Action leads to momentum, and momentum is the engine that drives results. The more you push yourself to take that first step, even when you don't feel like it, the more you build the energy needed to keep going. Think about it. The biggest tasks, the ones that seem impossible, don't get easier when you wait. They just get bigger. The longer you delay, the more intimidating they become. The fear and resistance you feel don't lessen with time, they grow. But when you push yourself to act despite that fear, despite the uncertainty, you start to see that those overwhelming tasks aren't as scary as they seemed. The world doesn't reward waiting. It rewards those who show up, who take action, who get started, and keep going, even when things aren't perfect. We also tend to believe that we can only act when we feel like it. But if you've ever accomplished anything significant, you know that feeling doesn't always show up at the start. In fact, often, the hardest part is getting going in the first place. After all, if you wait for motivation, you'll never get started. It's the small actions that lead to the bigger ones. A single step forward, even when you're not feeling it, is a victory in itself. And once you take that step, momentum builds. The more you do, the more you want to do. The energy from taking action fuels the next step, and then the next, until before you know it, you've created a snowball effect of progress. This concept applies to all areas of life, whether it's pursuing a career goal, a fitness target, or learning something new. People who succeed in these areas don't wait for motivation. They don't wait until they're in the mood to work out or write that report. They simply do it. Even on the days when they're exhausted or uninspired, they show up. And in doing so, they create their own motivation. It's the act of doing, regardless of how they feel, that brings results. This is why the phrase, force yourself to get it done, is so powerful. It acknowledges that the road to success isn't about waiting for things to feel right. It's about making it happen even when everything inside you wants to do the opposite. In life, you're going to face challenges, days when everything feels like a struggle. But those who succeed aren't necessarily the ones with the most talent or the most resources. They're the ones who decide to act regardless of the circumstances. It's not about how you feel. It's about showing up and taking the necessary steps even when the conditions aren't ideal. If you can learn to act before you feel ready, you'll find that motivation catches up with you. It's a cycle. Action creates motivation, motivation creates more action, and that's how you achieve your goals. Success isn't something that just falls into your lap. It's not handed to you on a silver platter because you've waited long enough or hoped hard enough. To achieve greatness, you must be willing to embrace discomfort. No one becomes successful by staying in their comfort zone. The path to success requires you to push past the things that make you uneasy, the things that scare you, the things that feel hard. Embracing discomfort isn't an optional part of the journey, it's a necessity. Every great accomplishment, every significant breakthrough is built upon a foundation of discomfort. Whether it's starting a new business, learning a new skill, or chasing a dream, the road is rarely smooth. It's full of challenges, obstacles, and moments where you question your abilities. But here's the truth. Those moments are the ones that shape you. They are the building blocks of your success. Without discomfort, there's no growth. Without pushing through those tough times, there's no progress. Every time you force yourself to keep going when you don't feel like it, when you face resistance head on, you're growing, evolving, and getting closer to the success you desire. The uncomfortable situations that life throws your way are not signs that you should quit. They're the exact moments when you should lean in, push harder, and keep moving forward. It's easy to get discouraged when things don't go according to plan. It's easy to want to give up when you hit a roadblock or face failure. But those who succeed are the ones who don't let those moments define them. They see discomfort as a sign that they're on the right path, that they're growing, and that they're stretching themselves beyond what they thought was possible. They know that discomfort is the gateway to achievement. Think about athletes, professional athletes, Olympians, and even those who train for marathons or long-distance races. They don't avoid discomfort, they embrace it. They push their bodies to their limits, breaking through pain, exhaustion, and mental barriers. They know that the only way to achieve greatness in their sport is to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And it's not just about physical training, it's about mental toughness too. Athletes have to deal with failure, setbacks, and times when they feel like giving up, but they don't. They endure the discomfort because they know that it's what separates the successful from the average. The same is true for entrepreneurs and business leaders. Every successful business owner has faced challenges that tested their resolve. There were sleepless nights, countless failures, and moments when they thought their dream would never come to fruition. But the ones who succeed didn't let those uncomfortable moments stop them. They didn't let fear or doubt or discomfort hold them back. Instead, they saw those moments as opportunities to grow stronger, to learn more, and to push themselves further. They made the decision to keep going even when it felt hard, and that's what ultimately led to their success. The same principle applies to anyone pursuing personal growth. Whether you're looking to improve your health, learn a new skill, or advance in your career, there will always be moments when you feel like giving up. Those moments of doubt, of struggle, and of discomfort are inevitable. But they don't define you. They're merely stepping stones. The key to success is not avoiding those moments, but embracing them. It's about pushing through the tough times and using them as fuel to reach your goals. Success is not for the faint of heart. It's for those who are willing to confront their fears, to endure the challenges, and to grow through the discomfort. Every time you push past the resistance, every time you decide to keep going when things get tough, you build the resilience and strength necessary to achieve great things. So the next time you find yourself in an uncomfortable situation, don't shy away from it. Embrace it. Recognize that discomfort is a sign that you're on the right path, that you're becoming stronger, and that you're one step closer to your ultimate goal. Far too often we find ourselves waiting for the perfect moment to take action. We convince ourselves that once the stars align, once we have the right resources, or once the timing feels just right, then we'll finally be able to move forward. But the truth is, the perfect moment never comes. There is no ideal time, no perfect set of circumstances where everything falls into place. If you wait for that perfect moment, you'll end up waiting forever. Success doesn't require perfect timing. It requires action, even when the timing feels imperfect. One of the biggest traps we fall into is the belief that everything has to be aligned before we take that first step. We think we need to have everything figured out, all our plans set, and all our doubts addressed before we start moving. But this is where we get stuck. Waiting for the ideal moment only leads to stagnation. The reality is that the more you wait for the perfect conditions, the more time you waste. The longer you put off taking action, the more you give in to procrastination, fear, and uncertainty. And the more you do that, the further you push away the success you could be creating. If you're constantly waiting for the perfect time, you're letting fear and doubt control your decisions. You're giving them the power to determine when you will act. and that's dangerous. Fear and doubt will never go away. They're always going to be present, especially when you're about to do something significant. If you wait for them to disappear, you'll be waiting for a long time. Instead of waiting for those fears to subside, you need to learn to act in spite of them. Take action even when you don't have everything figured out, even when you don't feel ready. The truth is, you'll never feel fully ready. There will always be unknowns, and that's okay. You don't need to have all the answers before you start. What you need is the courage to take that first step, even if the path ahead is unclear. Think about the most successful people you admire. Do you think they waited for the perfect moment to begin? No, they took action despite the uncertainty. They didn't wait for things to fall into place perfectly. They moved forward anyway, even when they didn't have everything they needed or when they didn't know exactly what would happen next. They understood that the act of doing is what leads to growth and progress, not waiting for everything to be aligned. Every step they took, every mistake they made, and every obstacle they overcame brought them closer to their goals. The process itself shaped them and taught them the lessons they needed to learn. This is where most people fail. They wait for the perfect plan, the perfect opportunity, or the perfect circumstances, and they miss out on the progress they could have made by simply starting. When you wait for things to be perfect, you miss the chance to gain experience, to learn from mistakes, and to adapt along the way. You're not going to learn everything you need to know from books or lectures. You learn by doing, by making mistakes, by figuring things out in real time. And the only way to learn and grow is to start, even if the timing doesn't feel. You also have to understand that nothing is ever truly perfect. The circumstances you're waiting for are just an illusion. Life is constantly changing, and there will always be something else that feels more important, more pressing, or more urgent. If you're always waiting for the perfect moment, you'll always find a reason to delay. But if you decide that the perfect moment doesn't exist and that the best time to start is right now, then you free yourself from the trap of waiting. You take control and create your own momentum. The most successful people are the ones who stop waiting and start acting. They don't wait for everything to align. They make things happen. They take imperfect action and refine their approach as they go. They understand that progress is a journey, not a destination. And they know that the only way to get anywhere is to take the first step, even when the timing isn't perfect, even when the path is unclear, and even when they don't feel ready. Failure is something we all fear. It's that voice in your head telling you that you're not good enough, that you're going to mess it all up, and that your efforts will be for nothing. The truth is, failure is a natural part of the journey towards success. Every person who has ever achieved anything of significance has encountered failure at some point. And while failure feels painful and discouraging in the moment, it's actually one of the most valuable tools you can have in your success toolbox. Too many people view failure as something final, something to be avoided at all costs. But failure isn't the end. It's merely a stepping stone. It's feedback. It's an opportunity to learn, adjust, and improve. The fear of failure can paralyze you, making you hesitant to try or to take risks. But if you let that fear control your actions, you'll never reach your full potential. Failure is not something to fear, it's something to embrace. Every time you fail, you learn something new about yourself, about your approach, and about what works and what doesn't. This knowledge is priceless because it's what will eventually lead you to success. When you fail, you have a choice. You can let it defeat you, or you can use it to fuel your next attempt. The people who succeed are the ones who use failure as a motivator, not as a reason to quit. They understand that failure isn't a reflection of their worth or ability. It's simply a part of the process. The most successful individuals don't avoid failure. They embrace it, knowing that each failure brings them one step closer to their ultimate goal. They take the lessons learned from their failures and apply them to future efforts, refining their approach with every setback. Think about some of the most iconic figures in history. Thomas Edison, for example, failed thousands of times before inventing the light bulb. If he had stopped after his first failure, or even his 100th, we would not have the modern electrical world we live in today. Michael Jordan, often considered the greatest basketball player of all time, was cut from his high school basketball team. He didn't let that failure define him. Instead, he used it to push himself harder, to practice more, and to ultimately become the legend we know today. These are examples of people who failed, but who saw failure not as an endpoint, but as a valuable part of their journey. They understood that failure wasn't something to fear, but something to learn from and build upon. You're going to fail. It's inevitable. The key isn't to avoid failure, but to learn how to recover from it, how to keep going in spite of it. Every time you fail, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What can I do differently next time? What does this failure teach me about my approach, my mindset, or my strategy? If you approach failure with this mindset, it becomes a powerful tool for growth and improvement. It becomes something that accelerates your progress rather than slows it down. Another important thing to understand about failure is that it's not permanent. Just because you fail today doesn't mean you'll fail forever. Failure is temporary, but the lessons you gain from it can last a lifetime. Many people make the mistake of identifying with their failure. They say, I failed, therefore I am a failure. But that's not the case. Failure is an event, not an identity. Just because you failed doesn't mean you're a failure. You are not defined by your setbacks. What defines you is how you respond to them. Do you quit or do you get back up and try again? Do you let failure dictate your future or do you use it as the motivation to keep pushing forward? The most successful people in the world didn't let failure stop them. They learned from it, adjusted, and kept going. They understood that failure was not the end of the road. It was just a part of the journey. Every time they failed, they grew stronger, smarter, and more resilient. And this is why they succeeded. They didn't fear failure. They understood that it was an essential part of the process. And so should you. Embrace failure, learn from it, and keep moving forward because that's where true success lies. Momentum is one of the most powerful forces in life. It's the energy that drives you forward, that keeps you moving even when you don't feel like it, and that helps you overcome obstacles along the way. Once you start taking action, momentum begins to build and things start to click. The hardest part of achieving any goal is often getting started, but once you take that first step, the next one becomes easier. And the next one after that becomes even easier. This is how momentum works. It builds upon itself. It's a snowball effect that propels you to keep going even when challenges arise, but it all starts with that initial action. Think about the last time you really got into something, whether it was a project at work, a new fitness routine, or a personal goal. At first, it might have felt hard to get started. You were unsure, maybe even reluctant, but once you began, you felt a shift. The more you did, the more energy you had to keep going. That's momentum at work. It's what turns small actions into big results. It's what takes you from being stuck to making steady progress and ultimately to achieving your goals. Without momentum, progress is slow, and you may find yourself losing motivation along the way. But with momentum, everything starts to flow. The key to building momentum is consistency. It's not about making huge leaps all at once, but about making small, consistent steps over time. Success doesn't happen in one big burst. It's the result of continuous, sustained effort. Each day you show up, you're adding fuel to your momentum. Whether you're putting in an hour of work, completing a task, or simply making progress, it all counts. And the more you show up, the stronger the momentum becomes. The initial effort may feel tough, but as you keep pushing forward, that effort becomes easier. It's like pushing a boulder up a hill. It's hard at first, but once you reach the top, gravity takes over and the momentum carries the boulder down the other side. The same happens in your life. If you keep taking action, momentum will build and eventually you'll be cruising toward your goals without having to exert as much effort. One of the most important things to understand about momentum is that it's fragile. It doesn't take much to lose it. If you stop or slow down, the momentum you've built can quickly fade away. This is why consistency is so crucial. You can't afford to let things slip. Even on days when you don't feel like it, you have to push through, even if it's just a small action. The more you allow yourself to pause or procrastinate, the harder it will be to start again. Momentum is lost when you stop making progress, and when that happens, you'll have to work harder to get back to where you were. But when you have momentum, things start to feel effortless. You don't have to force yourself to do what you need to do because you've built a routine. The momentum you've created is like a wave that carries you forward, pushing you past your obstacles and propelling you closer to your goals. This is why successful people are so consistent. They understand the power of momentum, and they know that showing up every day, even when they don't feel like it, is what leads to their success. Momentum is also what helps you push through the tough times. Every journey will have its ups and downs. There will be moments when things aren't going as planned, when you feel discouraged or when you question your abilities. But when you've built momentum, it's easier to keep going because you've already created a rhythm. You've already taken the necessary steps to keep moving forward even when things aren't perfect. That's the power of momentum. It carries you through the challenges and helps you stay focused on the bigger picture. The key to harnessing momentum is to start. Don't wait for the perfect moment or the right set of circumstances. Take that first step, no matter how small, and let the momentum build. Every action you take, no matter how insignificant it seems, is a step toward your goal. And before you know it, you'll have created a force that will carry you to success. It's the small, consistent actions over time that create momentum. And it's momentum that turns your dreams into reality. Keep showing up, keep taking action, keep building momentum, and success will follow. Perfection is an illusion. We are often conditioned to believe that the only way to succeed is by doing things flawlessly, that every step must be without error. We think that if we can just get everything exactly right, then we'll finally reach the success we're striving for. But the reality is that perfectionism holds us back more than it helps us. In fact, it's one of the biggest obstacles to achieving our goals. The idea of perfection creates a false standard that prevents us from taking action, from making progress, and from moving forward. When we get caught in the trap of perfectionism, we spend so much time trying to make everything perfect that we never actually do anything. We overthink, we second guess ourselves, and we wait for the perfect moment, the perfect strategy, or the perfect conditions. But here's the truth. Perfection doesn't exist. There will always be something that could be better, something that could be tweaked, something that could be improved. If you constantly chase after perfection, you'll find yourself stuck in an endless cycle of striving for something that's unattainable. This is where consistency trumps perfection. You don't need to do everything perfectly. You just need to keep going. You need to take action and make progress, even if it's not perfect. When you focus on consistency, you make steady, incremental improvements over time, and this is what leads to success. You learn as you go. The more you do, the more you grow. It's through taking action, even when things aren't flawless, that you gain experience, insight, and understanding. And it's through this process that you start to move closer to your goals. Perfectionism also breeds fear. When you're afraid of making mistakes, you hesitate, you hold back, you delay. Fear of imperfection can paralyze you and stop you from doing anything at all. But here's the thing. Mistakes are not the enemy. They are part of the process. Every mistake you make is a lesson learned. It's an opportunity to improve, to refine your approach, and to grow. Successful people don't avoid mistakes, they embrace them. They understand that making mistakes is part of learning and progress. They aren't afraid of imperfection. They see it as a necessary part of the journey. When you focus on being consistent instead of perfect, you begin to let go of that fear. You understand that it's okay to not have all the answers or to not get everything right the first time. What matters is that you show up, take action, and keep moving forward. Even when things don't go according to plan, you learn from it and adjust. This process of trial and error is how success is achieved. Perfection, on the other hand, creates a barrier between you and your goals. You'll waste time waiting for the perfect conditions or the perfect plan, and by the time you finally take action, the opportunity may have passed. Perfectionism also tends to create a sense of dissatisfaction. No matter how much you achieve, you never feel like it's enough because you're always chasing an ideal that doesn't exist. You constantly compare yourself to others or to some imagined standard of success, and this keeps you feeling inadequate. But when you let go of the need for perfection, you can appreciate the progress you've made. You can celebrate your small wins and recognize that every step forward is an accomplishment in itself. Success isn't about reaching some perfect endpoint. It's about the journey, the growth, and the progress you make along the way. In the real world, success isn't about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's about showing up every day, taking action, learning from your mistakes, and continuing to improve. Perfection is paralyzing. It keeps you stuck in a state of indecision, unable to move forward because you're too focused on getting everything right. But consistency and progress are what lead to true success. When you let go of the need for perfection, you free yourself to take action, to make mistakes, and to learn, and that's when real progress happens. Success is built on small, imperfect steps forward, not on waiting for the elusive moment of perfection. Perfection is an illusion. We are often conditioned to believe that the only way to succeed is by doing things flawlessly, that every step must be without error. We think that if we can just get everything exactly right, then we'll finally reach the success we're striving for. But the reality is that perfectionism holds us back more than it helps us. In fact, it's one of the biggest obstacles to achieving our goals. The idea of perfection creates a false standard that prevents us from taking action, from making progress, and from moving forward. When we get caught in the trap of perfectionism, we spend so much time trying to make everything perfect that we never actually do anything. We overthink, we second guess ourselves, and we wait for the perfect moment, the perfect strategy, or the perfect conditions. But here's the truth: perfection doesn't exist. There will always be something that could be better, something that could be tweaked, something that could be improved. If you constantly chase after perfection, you'll find yourself stuck in an endless cycle of striving for something that's unattainable. This is where consistency trumps perfection. You don't need to do everything perfectly. You just need to keep going. You need to take action and make progress, even if it's not perfect. When you focus on consistency, you make steady, incremental improvements over time, and this is what leads to success. You learn as you go. The more you do, the more you grow. It's through taking action, even when things aren't flawless, that you gain experience, insight, and understanding. And it's through this process that you start to move closer to your goals. Perfectionism also breeds fear. When you're afraid of making mistakes, you hesitate, you hold back, you delay. Fear of imperfection can paralyze you and stop you from doing anything at all. But here's the thing: mistakes are not the enemy, they are part of the process. Every mistake you make is a lesson learned. It's an opportunity to improve, to refine your approach, and to grow. Successful people don't avoid mistakes, they embrace them. They understand that making mistakes is part of learning and progress. They aren't afraid of imperfection, they see it as a necessary part of the journey. When you focus on being consistent instead of perfect, you begin to let go of that fear. You understand that it's okay to not have all the answers or to not get everything right the first time. What matters is that you show up, take action, and keep moving forward. Even when things don't go according to plan, you learn from it and adjust. This process of trial and error is how success is achieved. Perfection, on the other hand, creates a barrier between you and your goals. You'll waste time waiting for the perfect conditions or the perfect plan, and by the time you finally take action, the opportunity may have passed. Perfectionism also tends to create a sense of dissatisfaction. No matter how much you achieve, you never feel like it's enough because you're always chasing an ideal that doesn't exist. You constantly compare yourself to others or to some imagined standard of success, and this keeps you feeling inadequate. But when you let go of the need for perfection, you can appreciate the progress you've made. You can celebrate your small wins and recognize that every step forward is an accomplishment in itself. Success isn't about reaching some perfect end point. It's about the journey, the growth, and the progress you make along the way. In the real world, success isn't about being perfect. It's about being persistent. It's about showing up every day, taking action, learning from your mistakes, and continuing to improve. Perfection is paralyzing. It keeps you stuck in a state of indecision, unable to move forward because you're too focused on getting everything right. But consistency and progress are what lead to true success. When you let go of the need for perfection, you free yourself to take action, to make mistakes, and to learn, and that's when real progress happens. Success is built on small, imperfect steps forward, not on waiting for the elusive moment of perfection. Many of us spend a lot of time thinking about what we want to achieve, dreaming about our goals and hoping for the future, but thoughts alone don't get things done. The difference between those who achieve their goals and those who don't isn't just the clarity of their vision, it's the action they take. Action is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. No matter how clear your goals are or how passionate you feel about them, without action, they remain just dreams. It's the effort you put in that turns your aspirations into tangible results. There's a huge gap between thinking about something and actually doing it. We often deceive ourselves into believing that thinking, planning, or preparing is enough. But this mindset keeps us in the same place, forever stuck in the cycle of someday. The problem with simply thinking is that it provides a sense of false progress. It gives you the illusion that you're moving forward because you're imagining your success, but without taking real steps, nothing changes. Action is what drives change, and it's what gets results. The key is to stop just thinking about what you want to achieve and start doing something about it, even if the steps you take seem small. It is easy to come up with excuses for why we don't take action. We say things like, I'll do it tomorrow, or I don't have the resources right now, or I need more information before I begin. But these excuses only delay progress. They keep you stuck in the cycle of procrastination. The truth is, you'll never feel like you have all the information or resources you need to start. There will always be obstacles, challenges, and doubt. The key to success isn't waiting for the perfect moment or for all the pieces to fall into place. The key is to start anyway, even when things are uncertain, and to trust that you'll figure things out along the way. Starting is often the hardest part. Once you begin taking action, the momentum builds and things start to fall into place. You learn from your experiences and you adjust your course. It's through the act of doing that you gain clarity. You get better at what you're doing because you're learning as you go. Action allows you to make mistakes, course correct, and ultimately improve. It's easy to become paralyzed by the fear of failure or the idea that your first attempt has to be perfect. But perfectionism only prevents progress. The people who succeed are the ones who start before they feel ready, the ones who push through fear and doubt, and the ones who keep taking action even when they don't have it all figured out. The beauty of taking action is that it also reveals the next step. When you sit and think about a goal, you may not see the full path forward, but when you start taking action, you begin to gain insight into what needs to happen next. Action uncovers opportunities you didn't see before, and it forces you to think critically and creatively. It challenges you to push past your comfort zone and forces you to come up with solutions. Each action you take brings you closer to your goal, even if it feels like small steps. Over time, those small steps accumulate and create significant momentum. Action doesn't just move you forward, it helps you grow, adapt, and improve along the way. If you want to get things done, you must break through the barrier of inaction. No amount of planning or thinking will get you to the finish line. You need to stop waiting for the perfect time or for everything to be ideal. The perfect time is now. Don't wait for the stars to align, because they never will. Action doesn't need to be grand or flawless. It just needs to be consistent, even on days when you don't feel like it. The simple act of moving forward, no matter how small, will set you apart from those who are still stuck in the thinking phase. Taking action is the most important habit you can cultivate because it is the force that turns dreams into reality. It is the engine that drives you from where you are to where you want to be. So the next time you catch yourself thinking about your goals, stop and ask yourself, what action can I take right now? Don't let your dreams remain just dreams. Turn them into reality through the power of consistent, determined action. One of the most powerful tools you can have in achieving your goals is the ability to remain disciplined, even when motivation is low. Motivation is often seen as the spark that gets us started, but discipline is what keeps us going when that initial excitement fades away. It's easy to start something when you feel inspired, but what about when the excitement wears off and the daily grind sets in. That's when discipline becomes crucial. Discipline is the ability to take consistent action even when you don't feel like it. It's the force that drives you to continue even when the journey is hard or the end goal seems far away. Motivation can be fleeting. One day you're full of energy and ready to conquer the world, and the next you're struggling to get out of bed or get to work. This is why relying solely on motivation to achieve your goals is a dangerous game. If you only act when you feel motivated, you're setting yourself up for inconsistency. The key to long-term success isn't waiting for motivation to strike. It's building habits and routines that keep you on track regardless of how you feel. When you make discipline a habit, it no longer relies on fluctuating feelings of motivation. It becomes a part of your identity. To develop discipline, you must start by creating a strong foundation. This begins with clear goals. Without a clear sense of direction, it's easy to get lost along the way or to lose sight of why you're doing something. When your goals are clear and compelling, they provide the structure needed to stay disciplined. A strong sense of purpose will help you push through the difficult moments and remind you why you started in the first place. Discipline thrives in an environment of clarity and purpose. If you don't have a compelling reason to keep going, you'll easily lose motivation when things get tough. Next, discipline requires consistency. It's not about doing something perfectly or all at once. It's about doing it regularly, even if you don't feel like it. Consistency is the key to building momentum. It's about showing up every day, even when the work seems overwhelming or when you're tired. Even on days when you don't have the energy or the desire to push forward, the act of showing up and taking one small step toward your goal will keep you moving. Over time, these small, consistent actions compound, and before you know it, you've made significant progress. It's the consistent effort that makes the difference between success and failure. When you rely on discipline, you're training yourself to push through discomfort and stay on track, even when the initial excitement fades. A crucial part of maintaining discipline is learning how to handle setbacks and failures. No journey is without obstacles, and you're going to face moments where things don't go according to plan. It's easy to get discouraged in these moments, especially if you're